What's up, fam? Niche night here, Thursday night on a2dradio.com. Kicking you off first with Lazy Booking, the original crew back. Myself, Matty Sensudi. Welcome back, brother.
It's good to be back, man.
Yeah.
A lot happening in the wrestling world. Some positive, unfortunately, a lot negative. But anyway.
Yeah. Agreed, brother. Agreed. But we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about, Fyter Fest versus Great American Bash. We're going to talk about Raw, a couple of points, good points, I thought, to come up or go over with Raw, as well as Slammiversary. And I know we said Slammiversary preview, but it's probably going to be more of a conversation of, with all the rumors going into it, some of the names that may show up. I think that's an interesting conversation point. So we're going to touch on that, as well as anything that you guys want to talk about in the chat. So if you're joining us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, we appreciate you guys. Drop your comments into the comment section. We'll read them off, your questions. Join a conversation. And we're really excited to have you guys here. And we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. First off, the best doc in the business, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy in Burlington, Cherry Hill, Princeton, New Jersey. You can find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. No appointment necessary. So make sure you hit them up. Check out, get the doc, get yourself in order. We're also brought to you by Ambuck Services. You need gutter guards, gutter cleaning, tree trimming, deck installation, restoration, any kind of outside work that you need done. Hit up Michael Ambrose. Let him know the fam at A2D send. You get 20% off. Summertime barbecues, man. I think that's going to be the way of things for the foreseeable future. So get your house in order. Get yourself in a great situation so you can host all your friends. And check them out. It's ambuckservices.com. We also have the phone number posted in the comment section. So check them out. We're also brought to you by our buddies over at Philly Drinkers. Shout out to Alex. Got some great A2D merch. The A2D NWO style shirt is available. The Philadelphia Quarterback Factory shirt is available. What's up, Damian Estrada and Andy Ritter? What's up, boys? The OG Ginger Gang is back. You're absolutely right. But you can get your Philadelphia Quarterback Factory shirt if you use the promo code A2D. It's going to get you 25% off that shirt, not your whole purchase order, but that shirt. A lot of great merch there. Tumblers, the most comfortable shorts I may have ever worn in my life, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your asses, guys. I could live in them. And lots of really cool shirts. Hockey Happy Hour shirt, Lazy Booking, Birds of a Feather, The Fix, AM and the PM, Agree to Disagree. Every show that's on A2D, you can go and get our shirts at phillydrinkers.com. Yeah, and our topic of conversation, as we said, guys, we're going to be talking Great American Bash and Fyter Fest. And that's brought to you by QB54, the best tailgating game out there, guys. It's a great game. Great to play with your friends in the backyard this time of year for a barbecue. So check it out. PlayQB54.com. Use the promo code A2D. It's going to get you 10% off. But our topic of conversation, Maddie, Great American Bash was better than Fyter Fest. Agree, disagree. Again, guys, we want to hear your opinions on this. We're going to go through a lot of the we're not going to break down match by match. We're going to have a general conversation. It's a 2-week comparison. This is the third week in a row. Rob Hobie says, "What's up, fellas? Fyter Fest ruled." Okay, I may not agree with that. We'll get into that momentarily.
In other news, the sky is blue.
Shut up, Maddie.
What? I'm just saying.
Listen, you know what though? I mean, honestly, I didn't love Fyter Fest, and it's not. So I'm getting more into the AEW product. I am. There's a lot more that I'm getting into it. I didn't like Fyter Fest. I felt like it was a very generic episode of Dynamite, and I feel like you're advertising something as a free pay-per-view being given away. And if we remember the old WCW days, Maddie, they had a Clash of the Champions was kind of that thing, and Not that it was necessarily always pay-per-view caliber to watch a Clash of the Champions, but it wasn't like watching, Nitro or, WCW Saturday Night or Thunder. It had a little bit of an elevation to it. And though I think that there were moments in night 2, overall, when I look at both weeks combined, I just wasn't bowled over by what was put out there. However, if I look at Great American Bash, I felt like there were a lot of moments that came out of that. I thought that there was really great matches, particularly in night 2. I really enjoyed night 2 of Great American Bash. And, depends on how you look at the ratings. WWE for the third week in a row, overall did better in the ratings, but in the key demographic, AEW won. So, yeah, let me hear your thoughts on it, Matty.
Honestly, I don't give a shit about the ratings because the ratings really don't matter as much as they used to. But when it comes down to it, in terms of match quality wise, I would say this is what the problem is with Fyter Fest. It was 2 shows to set up for Fight for the Fallen because that's next week. They don't have the AEW Championship on the line, which hurt them big time competing with Great American Bash. That's next week. So the 2 weeks that you're directly really competing, like the 2 big show-it weeks with WWE, you're not going to put your best out there. You're just going to do continuation matches to lead you to Fight for the Fallen. That's ultimately what the problem is. They're leading up to Fight for the Fallen the week that WWE doesn't have a Great American Bash going on. It's like, yeah, great. Maybe that's an automatic win for you at the end of the day, but you lost 2 straight weeks in a row to them because you chose to just make this like a regular Dynamite. It's like, well, then why did you call it Fyter Fest? Just call it Dynamite. It's like, it's fine. If you don't have anything special planned, just call it Dynamite. It's like, all right, fine. WWE, they decided to make this the week of the Great American Bash. Fine. Even if you're just going to call it Dynamite, the least you can do was you can do something. Have a women's title match. You didn't do that. You had 2 tag team title matches, which pissed me off, by the way, because Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page win the first week. Okay, but they're going to have a title defense the very following week. First off, you're double booking something, which is stupid if you're doing 2 straight nights of it in a row. Or, I'm sorry, 2 straight weeks of it in a row. Exact same spot, too. The only way this makes sense is if you lose those tag team titles on the second night. And they didn't. They retained them both times. I'm like, why? And also, why does it matter if they hold on to these belts? At this point, 2 singles wrestlers holding those tag team belts. You have Private Party right here. You've got Dark Order. You've got a ton of tag teams right now that you could easily just give those belts to. And I get why they're doing it. They're trying to further the storyline along between Page and Omega. But at this point, it's like, okay, at some point, now that the Inner Circle storyline is over, why not have them drop the belts and start that whole process of Omega versus Page? Like, at this point, there's no purpose of them remaining tag champs. Like I said, Inner Circle one's done. That big rivalry's over with. And then on top of it, it's just one thing after another, where it's like, there's guys on the show that should have been on the show. Hikaru Shida should have been on the show. She's on it in the crowd. I'm like, why is she not defending her women's title? Like, Cody didn't do anything. It's like, what's going on?
He did defend night 1.
True, but yeah, he did do that. I forgot about that. But still, the point is,
but that's the problem, is that you forgot about it.
Yeah, it's
that's
like
the problem.
Whatever they did with Fyter Fest, I'm like, it doesn't really do all that much to Great American Bash because you had a really great women's title match. You had no women's title match, so you lost that. Secondly, tag team title matches, fine, maybe you had 2, but you don't do a belt change, which hurts, in my opinion, because Great American Bash, you have the first ever double champion crowned by the end of that second night. So it's like you don't even have a title change that can compete with that. It's like, I mean, I get it. You don't want to mirror them, but at the same time, it's like, compared to what they did, you did nothing. Compared to what you did, you might as well have just done Dynamite, like you said. Like, it should have just been a regular old AEW Dynamite Wednesday night. It didn't have to be Fyter Fest because nothing happened. There wasn't even a stupid gimmick match. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt, I mean, if you want to consider the 4-on-4 8-man tag team match, that could be considered, a gimmick match. I didn't really take much away from night one at all, which is a problem. And I do agree with you. I think it hurt them that the title match had to be pushed back because of obviously, reasons that beyond their control with Dean Ambrose and, the potential exposure to COVID. But that being said, I do feel like they recovered a little bit in night two. I enjoyed the Taz promo with Brian Cage and bringing the FTW title back was a pretty cool moment. Britt Baker is money.
Yes.
She is so on fire right now. It's insane. So I enjoy everything that they're doing with Britt Baker. And again, that 8-man tag match was something pretty special. And you know what? I mean, Orange Cassidy and Jericho, I don't feel like that disappointed whatsoever. I think Orange Cassidy is a guy who, I've been documented on this show at the beginning, of AEW's run. I wasn't a big fan, but, when I watched him against Pac, I really turned a corner with him to watch him work, to where it's not just a stupid gimmick that we're saying, an indie gimmick, that this dude can really work and put on good matches. And I was really impressed with his matches, with the build-up and his match with Jericho. I think he comes out of this looking really, really good. Aside from that, I just didn't feel
Ooh.
the wait on Nyla Rose, or why we have to wait to find out who her manager is. I mean, it was weird. That was a weird promo to me. Oh, I see the parallels to all the champions. They all have managers. Okay.
Technically, only one does because the FTW belt is technically not a belt. It was a title.
But I mean, I wasn't nitpicking at that though. I had no problem with her adding that in. It was recognition of it. It's recognition of Brian Cage and putting him over more. So I had no problem with that. But I mean, to me, first of all, I don't remember if she said singles or included tag teams. Omega and Hangman don't have managers.
No.
So, or a manager. I don't know. It felt flat for me. In opportunities that I thought that they could have. Damien says the only great thing that happened at Fyter Fest was the return of the FTW belt. Yeah, I mean that was a highlight. I agree with you, Damien. That was a highlight. The couple of matches were highlights. I just wasn't bowled over by the overall effort of it.
For the most part, I mean the matches. There were several of the matches that were fine. Like they were solid matches, but it's just. I mean, and I will say this, I'm still not a fan of Orange Cassidy just because of his gimmick. He has athleticism. I give him that. He's a hell of an athlete, but that's stupid putting his hand in his pocket and kicking at the shins. That just turns me off every time. It's like, it's so dumb. It's like, it's just dumb to me.
I don't know. I mean, I've come around on it. The fact that the dude can work and does work, I like it.
I'm not taking that away.
Shout out to Brian Ferrick joining us from Scotland. Welcome to the show, brother. Appreciate you joining us. We're on every week, same time, brother. Robert Gilchrist says he loved the women's title match. Greg Malakovic, he says, what's up, fellas? Bask in his glory. Let's go. And then he adds, it is a stupid-ass gimmick talking about Orange Cassidy. What are your Jay Bosi wants to know? What are our thoughts on FTR? Yes, FTR. Love them. Maddie, I love FTR. I've always been a fan of the Revival, FTR. I think these dudes are everything that tag team wrestling should be. And, I will never understand how WWE could have dropped the ball with those guys. But they're just not big on tag team wrestling. Let's be real. That's something that needs to change. But I have to say, man, I mean, they are such a great throwback to traditional tag team wrestling. But it's like, this might be like a weird comparison, Maddie, but I'm going to put it out there. I compare, like, I'm a fan of like old school music, like the Temptations, the 50s and stuff, like
Gotcha.
doo-wop type of music, right?
Gotcha.
And what I like, when I look at like the tradition of that kind of music, and then I hear somebody like a Bruno Mars, who presents his presentation when he entertains people, especially if you watch him live, is very, very similar, but it's a modernized version of it. And I feel like FTR is that, in the sense of they honor the tradition of professional wrestling and tag team wrestling, but they've elevated it and managed to keep it current with the fast style and working style that we see today that people love. And I mean, I can't, I still can't call them by their names that they're being given now. I think they are awful rip-off gimmick names, by the way.
I
When I
mean,
look at that, when I look at Dash and Dawson, to me, they might be, they're arguably the best tag team in the world. I would put the Lucha Bros in that conversation. I would put the New Day in that conversation, and the Usos. That would probably be my top four, with the Bucks slightly on the outside. You know, I've come around on the Bucks, so that's not a slight to them. I just still feel like we get too much super kicking. But, when I look, there's so many good tag teams in the world, and for FTR to be able to work that style, which doesn't always translate with the modern wrestling fan, the younger crowd, the younger demographic now, I think is huge.
I mean, I like that fact that, what's good about them, and you're right, they bring that classic style, but to me, that helps elevate a tag division because not everybody's the same. The one thing that, you'll find sometimes when you look in indie wrestling, and sometimes when you look in sometimes Japanese wrestling, and in WWE too, you can find a lot of people doing the same thing over and over again. It's the same kind of match. And, the thing is you hear wrestlers from back in the day who were trained differently from other wrestlers. They didn't do the
Right.
same things as each other because they had different nuances, how they approached a match. But it seems like everybody copies each other and everybody's trying to do the exact same thing as each other. For a tag team like FTR to say, we don't do the things that Lucha Bros do. We don't try to do that. We don't try to do what the Bucks do. We don't try to do what any of those teams do. We try
Mm-hmm.
to be our own classic style. And, I would say that that's great for the division. It helps evolve the division because you have these high flyers, but FTR can ground them. FTR can use the technical style. FTR can
Yeah.
say, okay, yeah, you can fly around, do the flips, but we're going to shoulder block you. We're going to forearm you. We're going to make sure that you stay on the ground. You need that. You need that in a division.
Yeah.
There's not enough of that.
Pronger's best friend says FTR is the only reason why I'd consider watching AEW, but I wanted them to go to NGPW. Couple comments back. I'll backtrack a little bit here. Brian Farrick says they were underutilized in WWE. Great team mind, like the Hart Foundation. Robert Gilchrist says they're not big, 6'6" big. He says they remind me of Chris B and Dean Malenko, Mr. Benoit Malenko. Yeah. I mean, it's a fair assessment. Love that comment by Jay. They look like early '90s jobbers, but wrestle like the '80s tag team greats. Love it. No, it's so true. And real quick before we move on too, because I do see a couple of names that haven't been on, in our chat. We're on same time every week. I want to thank you guys for jumping in and contributing. And just a shout out too, if you guys missed anything over the last few weeks, we do have interviews and stuff on this show too. We just did a 3-part, 3 consecutive week interview series with Bill Alfonso that was absolute fire. We had Ken Shamrock on recently, Leo Rush, Matt Tremont, King of the Death Match. We've had a lot of people. If you even go back far into the archives, we've had Tito Santana, Nikita Koloff, Tito, Psycho Sid Vicious. Got a lot of guests on this show. So, so I just want to encourage you guys, if you're new to the show, we want to welcome you guys. Join us every week. We do, and go back and check out some of our interviews. You can find them here on Facebook. Might be a little easier. Subscribe to A2D Radio on YouTube and go check it out there. You can go and you can look at the channel and specifically find the A2D Lazy Booking list and go back and archive those shows. I don't think the Tito one got onto there because that was when we had the power outage and we only made it on Facebook for that one. But a lot of really good ones on there. So just a heads up, you guys to go and check out some of those great interviews. Great American Bash, though, Maddie. On the flip side, to me, week 1 and week 2 felt like an elevated show. I thought they started last week with that women's 4-way match. They came out this week with Mia Yim and Candice LeRae in a street fight, and I thought both matches were excellent. You know what? Let me backtrack for a minute before I get into Great American Bash. I will tell you what a great highlight from week 1 was, though, Maddie. I have seen her work before, but I didn't realize how really good and improved Penelope Ford is in the ring. I thought she looked spectacular last week in week 1 of Fyter Fest. And I think that she's one of the people, like an Orange Cassidy, that absolutely comes out of Fyter Fest looking like a star.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, she had her time period in, the Indies and such like that, and to see her continue to progress is great to see. And obviously, from what we were seeing from the women on the WWE side of things, just a couple of really great rivalries that they have going on. EO versus the World, and having Mia and Candice being a heel, which, I at first wasn't sure if she could pull it off because she had that gimmick for so long that, it's hard to get rid of that gimmick. But her and Johnny are amazing heels.
Brian said, damn, I miss Leo. It's all good. Like I said, Brian, you can go back. If I'm being honest, if you want the easiest way to go back and find it, find A2D. So first of all, like us here on Facebook, but go over to YouTube and subscribe to A2D Radio on YouTube. And then, like I said, you can search the channel and all of the individual shows are broken down. You can find every episode of Lazy Booking that we've ever had, even back to our earlier days where we interviewed CZW referee Nick Papagiorgio. Like I said, I'm telling you guys, if you missed any of the last 3 weeks, and I know our boy Pronger's best friend / Prism down here, thank you for the kind words. That Bill Alfonso interview series, you wouldn't think initially, hey, and I love Bill, so I would, but a lot of people don't realize that Bill has spent 40 years in the professional wrestling industry. He's worked in WCW, WWE, ECW, Impact. He worked in the territory days in the hotspots of Texas and Florida. And we were able to have an awesome 3+ hour combined 3-show series with Bill. One show specifically totally dedicated to ECW, where he told us some awesome stories. So I would highly suggest, if you guys missed any of that, go back and check it out. You won't be sorry, I promise you. But getting back to it, Great American Bash. I thought it came out on fire. I loved everything that we saw from the women throughout this. And night 2 specifically, Maddie, I thought was absolutely excellent. I really enjoyed Johnny Gargano and Shane Strickland / Isaiah Swerve Scott. I thought that match was excellent. And obviously, we had history. The first double singles champion in NXT history. And it has been crowned in Keith Lee over Adam Cole in, 404 plus days or whatever it was, his title reign. Pretty special moment. I think they picked the right guy to finally end the streak. And I don't know what Cole's next move is. I haven't heard anything on his contract status, Maddie, but I don't know if you have. I think his contract's coming up, but my instinct would say he's going to stay. And what I can't stand, Maddie,
Mm-hmm.
is everybody thinks that because you've been friends with the Bucks or were in the Bullet Club in the past that you're going to run to AEW.
Of
And I don't
course.
think that's Marty Skrull proved that that's not true.
Yeah.
Um,
And if anybody would have done it, it would have been him.
yeah, yeah. You know, Finn is a guy I think people thought they might have. Well, thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate that, brother. Shout out to Alex and Philly Drinkers for this beautiful A2D merch here, NWO style shirt. Um, but I also think that um, I think Cole has just established himself so well. So well. He's such a favorite. I know he's an undersized guy, but man, like he's an HBK guy. It's all the people that do have Vince's ear. And I really feel like Adam Cole is a guy who they truly look at as the next Shawn Michaels, who could
I
be
could,
the next Shawn Michaels for years. Not like an AJ Styles where you're getting, you'll get a 6-7 year window out of it, but Adam Cole could be the guy for the next 15 years for this company.
absolutely. I mean, it's a perfect example of, there are some people who fit in WWE, some people who fit in AEW, some people who fit in NJPW, ROH, Impact, you name it. Some people just fit perfectly in a company. He's one of those guys that seems to just fit fine in WWE. He doesn't need to go to AEW. I feel like if he
Yeah.
does go to AEW, then unfortunately he will immediately be put into programs that would be involving the Bucks, Omega, and the rest of them. And I feel like that wouldn't serve him the best, because yes, he does the stable thing now, but the thing is that Cole is the leader of it. He wouldn't be the
Mm-hmm.
leader of that, and at the same time, he wouldn't be the guy in AEW. He's the guy in NXT. So he's now, who knows, maybe after, with his title being gone, who knows, maybe he'll go somewhere else. Maybe the Undisputed Era will eventually break up soon. Who knows what will happen, because they might want to move him to Raw or SmackDown to have him eventually become WWE or Universal Champion. The point being is that, like you were saying, he's a guy who can be the guy. And he fits perfectly in WWE. He doesn't need to go to AEW. And for everybody who's a smark out there about the Bullet Club and everything, listen, I love the Bullet Club just as much as everybody else, but listen, the glory days,
No.
yeah,
You only have a flag in the
I only have a
background.
flag behind me, but here's the thing. We can all safely say the glory days of the Bullet Club have passed. I think we can safely say that. Yeah, the elite are the elite. They made their own thing out of it. AJ's no longer there. Even Anderson and Gallows were a major part of it, and they haven't been around for a long time with it. So it's like, the glory days are by. Let's let it go. The NWO lasted way too long. Let's not make the Bullet Club last way too long. You know what I mean? You don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, I think the Bullet Club's legacy is what it is. A lot of stars came out of it, but
Yeah.
eventually, at some point, that's my issue with AEW is it's like the boys club, and I've said
Yeah.
it on here 1,000 times, and I'll say it again tonight. It's the boys club, but I feel like Adam Cole is bigger than that. I don't feel like I feel like if he goes to AEW, there's an expectation that he's going to fall in line with the boys.
Mm-hmm.
And even if he doesn't, at some there's so many people. I don't want to say that are like him because, in my opinion, Adam Cole is the best in the world. A lot of people want to put Omega in that conversation. Sure, Okada is another guy people will put in that conversation. Absolutely deserving.
Cody.
Um, Cody is another guy. Seth Rollins is another guy that could be in that conversation. I personally think that Adam Cole, whether he's talking, whether it's in-ring work, is money. Everything he does, your eyes are fixated on Adam Cole. And I think that that's a real testament to that guy. And I just feel like he has an opportunity to stand on his own 2 feet and not go back. There was a reason that he had his spot before when he was with them. And I think that elevated him. And then he left there and he got here and he's the leader of a new faction that I think is absolutely spectacular. You don't need to go back and join the boys club. It's okay.
No.
You could still be friends. You could still be friends and work in different companies. And I don't think Britt Baker being there would have any bearing on him whatsoever.
No, I mean, like, Peyton Royce and what?
Sean Spears.
Thank you, Sean Spears. I was thinking of his WWE name. I don't know why, but I would say though. But anyway, but with that though, Peyton's in WWE. He's in AEW, so it's like doesn't really mean anything. I mean, yeah, he got fired from WWE, but the point is that they're married and they're a couple, so I don't see why it would be a big deal that Britt's there and he's in WWE. And then also on top of that, just to add one more thing, like I said, like we were talking about, he wouldn't be the guy in AEW, because Cody's the guy in AEW. As much as, he's not putting himself in the world title picture and he's not the champion at this time, we still have to call what it is. Cody's still, he's the face of AEW, as much as, you can argue Cole, but it's Cody. Everybody knows it's Cody. Cole, I don't think that'd be a good environment. Cole should have a place where he's the face. It's his show, and he's the guy everybody wants to be, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, Jericho is the face, an aspect as well, but you got to remember, Jericho's in the twilight. I mean, he still manages to work. And he keeps himself, for the most part, in pretty great shape, particularly at his age. But he's not the future of the company. No. He's not. He's the guy that's putting the company on the map right now to the casual viewer.
Yeah.
But he's not the future of the company. And I think that there's a lot to be said for being able to be the guy, the flag bearer for years and years and years. And I feel like Adam Cole is that guy. It's not like Adam Cole went to NXT and wasn't utilized. The guy's been a champion almost his entire time there, whether it was the North American title or it was the NXT title for over 400 days. So I think that there's a lot to be said for that. I think that he's a guy that enjoys the challenge. And there's a lot of people in NXT and WWE that he's talked about frequently that he respects. And I know him and Seth. I know Seth is a match that he would like to have at some point.
That'd be a great match.
That's where the difference comes in. The AEW thing is, and this is why I don't mind that they have some of them there, but I thought it was a missed opportunity for Omega because we've seen him work with a lot of these people over and over and over again. Maybe not Pac, but some of the other people. And it was an opportunity for him to go to WWE and work with people that we haven't seen him have the chance to work with a Seth Rollins, with a Samoa Joe, guys who I really think he could have had lights out type of matches with. And now, I said this early on with AEW. I felt like he kind of has gotten stale on me, Omega, seeing him week in and week out. I think that teaming with Adam Page helped for a little while. But then now I'm kind of around back on where I'm kind of getting over it. I feel like the Page Omega breakup is the Sasha and Bailey of AEW. How long are we going to hold on to that? I'm just saying. I mean, they teased it for how long? Then they were back on the same page after, their last pay-per-view. And then they teased it again. And I think I said to you and Matt, you and Andy from In This Very Ring, I believe, and I said this long before they started teasing it last week, which was one thing I liked. And it's that I think Paige will end up aligning with FTR and have their own thing, which to me, that's something different. I like it. AEW is the complete opposite of WWE. Everybody has a faction. Everybody has friends and has a group. But, I mean, I like that dynamic of them working together, though, and because of we were talked a lot about FTR and their old school style and that vibe that they have, and then you look at Adam Page. Adam Page reminds me a lot of a little bit more, and he was athletic in his own right, but almost like a little bit more of an athletic Barry Windham. And
I could see that. I can see
I
it, you know?
and I feel like, we saw the dynamic between Barry Windham, Arn Anderson, and Tully Blanchard with the Four Horsemen. It could be that modern day throwback to that without having to throw the four fingers up, like they tried to do in TNA back in the day with,
Oh,
what was that? Fortune,
Fortune.
right? I can't remember the goddamn name.
Oh,
Um,
well, good for you. Oh, I can't friggin' forget that bullshit. But anyway.
what's funny? Funny story though. Speaking of Fortune, I do like to so I still buy DVDs and stuff occasionally. I don't buy them now, but I used to. I have a ton of them. And like when TNA was kind of going out, and it seemed like they were really going to fold up, they had like a sale, and I did buy like some like $5 and $10 DVDs off of TNA's website, and I did get the Fortune DVD, and I started watching it, Maddie. It was terrible. It's a terrible DVD. It's awful. I feel like they should have paid me to take it off their hands. It is not good. I have some good ones though. I used to buy like some of the. I have a couple of the Lethal Lockdowns because I was like those pay-per-views.
Yeah,
Um,
I have a few. I have the Best of the X divisions. Those two. Those are great. With the matches that
yeah.
they had back in the day. I have I think I have '05 Bound for Glory where Rhino won the world title by the end of the night.
Oh
But
God.
I
Ugh.
will say the event besides that was fine except for
Yeah.
that ending.
I have what do I have? I have a couple of those kind of events. I have 3 lockdown events on DVD. I have their bloodiest matches, volume 1 and 2, which are pretty good DVDs. And
Gotcha.
I have the TNA year 1, which is a pretty
Oh,
fun one
gotcha.
of like kind of a reflection of the greatest moments from their very first year. That's actually a fun one to go back and watch.
Yeah. Page compared to wait, what? Page
Page
compared to
compared to
Wyndham.
Wyndham piques my interest, to be honest. Yeah, Page is good, man. I think you'll like him. And
Yeah.
if you're an FTR guy, I like Hangman Page. I think his gimmick's getting better. I would like to see him turn heel. So we'll see. He's kind of teased that.
And I would like to see him get in the ring with more of the main eventers.
Yeah,
He's been in with the mid card. He's done fine there. Tag teaming, he's been doing fine with Omega. I would very much like to see him get in the ring with Cody or with pretty much anybody that could be considered world champion level. I wouldn't
I
necessarily
think.
throw him. What were you gonna say?
Well, we saw him with Jericho. I think you'll get that when we finally get away from this Sasha Bailey-esque breakup with
Yeah.
Omega and with the Elite. It's just very, very dragged along at this point. I'm over it. By the way, this is probably the most we've talked about AEW in a long time.
Yes,
Um,
I think it has been.
so let's round it back, Maddie. Agree, disagree to the poll question. Great American Bash was better.
In terms of the event and the way that it went, I would say, that I agree to the poll because I feel like Great American Bash did feel like they were giving it like more of a this is a special event feel. Fighter Fest, like you were saying, it felt just like a regular Dynamite episode. So
Yeah,
it's like, by that merit alone, match quality, put that off to the side. WWE made this a big event. They made this a big deal. So much so that they had their first double champion crowned on the second night.
yeah,
AEW, not so much. So I have to agree with the poll.
yeah. My entire take on this has made it pretty obvious that I would agree with it as well. I'm hopeful for next week. And again, I might have thought differently if there was that world title match, so I don't want to totally shit on them for that. I think, what I was disappointed about too, Maddie, they talked, there was an interview that Cody did on Busted Open on Sirius Radio. And there was its own controversy that came from that. But what I will say, kind of venturing off from that, when they came down to talking about the event, Cody talked about how it was a 2-night thing, and how events from night 1 were gonna set the tone for night 2, and little crumbs that were gonna lead us into night 2. And I didn't feel any of that. Like, I didn't at all.
No.
I just and again, do I care about Colt Cabana right now? I haven't seen Colt Cabana on television in years, and we all love Colt Cabana for many reasons. But even AEW, this is their lack. They bring in guys, and us smarks, hardcore fans, or smart fans, we know who Colt Cabana is, and we know his podcasts and all these different things. The casual viewer, who, if you're going to be a competitor to WWE and you're going to be on network television, you need to introduce people much better. And even with a Colt Cabana, man, I felt like they really dropped the ball. Like, I'm a guy who likes Colt, and what do I care right now with what he's doing in AEW?
Yeah, and the truth is that Colt, there's a guy who has talent and he does get people's attention. He has charisma. He's a funny guy. He does he has done plenty of comedy matches, but he can do serious when it's time to be serious,
Right.
And it's just like talent like that. It's like you should just have something automatically ready for him, and they're putting him with the Dark Order, which to me doesn't make any sense, because I'm like, are they trying to turn Colt heel? Because I don't know if that's going to go over as well as they think it is. There's a bunch of things that doesn't make sense. And getting back to what you were saying about Colt and the background of people, it goes back to when they didn't elaborate on people like the Blade and the Butcher. Like, you knew who they were. I didn't know who they were because I don't watch Impact. So it's like, how am I supposed to know who these people are? And they're dropping Cody Rhodes in the middle of the ring, So it's
I knew who Blade was. I had no idea who Butcher was.
Yeah, and
no idea.
And Excalibur just says their names like we're supposed to know them automatically. I'm like, it's like, give us something more. Like, if you know something, tell us. And if you don't know anything, just say, I don't know who these people are, but they just attacked Cody Rhodes right out of nowhere. At least you can play ignorance like WWE tries to do sometimes when they introduce somebody new. At least that way you're covering your ass,
Dude, I just saw the biggest bug I've ever seen in my life, and it's dragging a dead spider. Like, dragging it like a corpse. Ridiculous. Sorry. I got super distracted by that. I was making sure that little fucking thing didn't have a stinger. Anyway, perks of doing it. This is what you get when you do a show outside. Getting back to it. Yeah, I mean, you can even go back to, like, we talked about Sheeta, right? Who's the women's champion now. What did we really see with Sheeta? I mean, Sheeta was the number one contender for 3 months, and nobody knew about it. I mean, the women's division stinks, by the way. But that's a conversation for another day. I don't want to get into it tonight. But
mismanaged by every stretch of the imagination. But anyway,
they bought Luther in. Who the freak is Luther? And they were like, "Oh my God, it's Luther!" And everybody's like, "Who?
Oh my God!"
What?
I mean, say what you will about MJF and Wardlow, but at least they built up Wardlow with freaking promos. So it's like, okay, when he showed up, it's like it's a big deal,
Right.
Just...
They've laid a little groundwork with him as time's going on. Jim Askenbach, he says there was barely any build to the Great American Bash. The matches were good, but Fyter Fest did suffer due to not having a championship match, in my opinion. Cassidy versus Jericho is up there for match of the week with Scott versus Gargano. Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that. I mean, to me, Scott and Gargano was probably, without question, the best match of the week. I would say maybe it's maybe up there with Keith Lee and Cole, but I still like Keith Lee and Cole a little bit more. I mean, to me, the best match, damn Murder Hornets. It might have been, dude. That sucker was huge, man. I don't know where he carried. The spider he was dragging was huge. So you can imagine when I saw this blob about this big going across. Anyway. Um,
Hornet talk.
so yeah. So I want to shift. A couple of highlights from Raw. I know, Maddie, you really didn't get a chance to watch. I'm actually kind of sad that you didn't. So maybe the fam can help me with one of the parts of this. But first things first, you did get a chance to look at the new United States Championship, which is, Apollo Crews is obviously the champion, but because MVP won in a non-title match, is claiming himself as the uncrowned champion and carrying that title belt around as we speak. So what do you think of the new U.S. title, Matty?
After having only just seen it, I like it a lot more than I liked the Intercontinental title's new design.
That's terrible. I hate it.
Yeah. I feel like, that one they're kind of doing old school with the way that the plate is, and the eagle and everything like that, champion written across. There's nothing extravagant about it. It's just kind of more straightforward. But I like that. I don't mind that design. Whereas the Intercontinental title, I don't know what they were trying to do with that one. But, and I like it because it's not just the logo of WWE slapped on the center plate, and then you change the background for every belt. And like, can we have some diversity here? But anyway.
Yeah, well, that's the mentality. That's like the UFC MMA mentality of all the titles look the same and this and that. Yeah, I'm a fan of it. Like you said, I think the shaping of it is kind of a throwback. I would say that the way that the champion is very extravagant across the front would probably be the most extravagant thing about it. But, I think it's the best iteration of and I actually didn't mind the U.S. title they currently have. I've always liked it. I think it's why it lasted as long as it did. I think it's the best version they've had, though, since, the WCW U.S. title.
Which, if they had brought that back, it would not have bothered me, honestly. If they had just put a WWE logo up there instead.
You know what, though, Maddie? There's only one title that really should have never changed, and they changed it to a dumpy-looking design, and that's the Intercontinental title. They changed it in the 90s and early 2000s. They went back to it because it is so beloved. It is so synonymous with that company and with that title. And I think people cared about it. I thought it's one of the most beautiful championship belts that I've ever seen. And they changed it for no reason. And I think that was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
But, in terms of what we have, man, I'm a fan. I like the belt a lot. I thought that they did a really, really good job. Over here on the book, but Jay Vosey says Omega should turn heel. Joey says Hangman is the future face of AEW. Let me see. Joey says, I think it has some similarities to the old WCW United States title. I don't see that, Joey. I looked at it. I really didn't see any similarities. I think it stands on its own, and I like it. I just think it's really a nice-looking championship, to be honest. I'm a little disappointed, though, that you missed Raw, Maddie, because the opening segment was spectacular. And so they opened up Raw, and they had Drew, and they had Dolph cutting a promo, and Dolph talking about how Drew steps on the people that got him there. And he said, like this, man. And so they bring out Heath Slater. So Heath comes out, and I have to say, and I'm going to give a lot of credit to WWE, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So Heath comes out, and he confronts McIntyre, and he says, basically I'm surmising what went down. But he essentially says, nobody was happy. You're one of my best friends. Nobody was happier for you when you won the title. I don't cry. And he said, my own kids, or he said, I don't cry. And he said, but I cried when you won that title on the bump. That was very real. And he said, then a couple of days, he said, when you were gone, I talked to you every day. I talk to you almost every day. I talk to you all the time when you were released from WWE. And he said, I got cut a couple days after the bump, and I never heard anything from you. And he said, I need this job. I need it for my 2 kids, not the 20 kids or 22 kids that people think I have, but the actual 2 kids that I have. And he said, you promised me I was going to get my shot. I expect you to be a man of your word. And at first, Drew's reluctant, and he slaps Drew in the face. He says, give me what you promised me. Slaps him again. Drew gives him his title match. It was a squash. He takes his shirt off. He's all hyped up, this and that. There's like 2 seconds in the corner, and then Claymore kick. The match was probably 45 seconds. And then after the match, Ziggler ends up giving Heath the business with his words, and then attacks him. Drew comes back, saves Heath. They have a really awesome moment in the ring, to where Heath and Drew kind of hug, and then that's it. So this is the swan song for Heath. He did it for WWE.com. He did an interview backstage, basically talking about how he felt like this was the ideal ending to a chapter in his life, which would be the WWE chapter, and how much that it meant for him. So, and he said, keep an eye, because I got some really great things I think you're going to want to be a part of going forward, basically. And what was great about it, Maddie, and why I give WWE so much credit, I think it's all but a certainty that he's going to land in Impact Wrestling. Maybe AEW, but I think, for our kind of send home topic that we're going to talk about in a couple minutes, in terms of who may show up at Slammiversary, I think for WWE to give this guy who, let's be real, I like Heath a lot. I thought they missed an opportunity to work with him last year when they had him do that referee gimmick to save his job and stuff. I thought he showed that he could really do a serious program, and we know that Heath can work. It didn't work out that way, but I have to say, I really appreciated that WWE brought him back and gave him a chance to come back. And I'm telling you, go back, and if you watch anything, go to YouTube and watch the whole promo that he cut, and it was fire. It was one of the better promos on any program that I've seen in the last 6 months, without question. And I thought the WWE giving him that opportunity to come in, close out the chapter on a great note, even though he lost. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Wins and losses aren't always the thing. But he had a platform to show I can be a serious guy and cut a hell of a promo. And then let him go out. I thought kudos to WWE. I think for everything that he gave to the company over the years, all the people he put over, I thought them giving him that platform to showcase himself one more time was awesome. And kudos to him for taking advantage of it too.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. He won maybe 20 matches like his entire time, but this is the same guy who didn't get drafted when they did the brand split again. He shows up on both shows asking for a job, and then he says, I got kids, and that becomes his catchphrase for the next 6 years. And it catched on so quickly that they made him tag champs with Rhino. So it's just like, it's like, like you said, wins and losses don't always count. Sometimes it's what you do with them, really, at the end of the day. It's not the hand you dealt with, it's how you play it.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought it was really all around just a great moment to have all of them there, to have that moment and to have it with Drew, his boy. So really, really cool moment. I mean, there's some other stuff to talk about. I thought that Asuka and Bayley on Raw was a really good match. Kyrie Sane is back. Might be permanent. All the reports this week that Kyrie was gone. And then suddenly she she showed up on Raw. And now there's other reports coming out now that WWE may have sweetened the pot for her to stay. And I don't know if that means, her reasoning for wanting to go back to Japan was to be with her husband. I don't know if that means bringing her husband here, but they, I would love to see Kyrie stay. And I thought that was a pretty cool moment. I'm not there yet. And I'm not going to get into the conversation of it tonight, Maddie. Slightly enjoying Bailey a little bit right now.
Wow. I guess
we're not going to go there yet. There yet.
I'm just saying. I
might
talk
about it next week when we do our preview show.
I might need to start renting a fallout shelter, but okay, okay.
Maybe we'll talk about it next week when we do our Extreme Rules preview show.
Okay.
But yeah, so I want to round out the show, Maddie, with Slammiversary coming up. A lot of surprises are expected to come about in this show. It's already been reported that Gallows and Anderson have signed with Impact in a deal that allows them to work both Impact and New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Other names floated out there but not confirmed. EC3, Eric Young. Bully Ray was recently released from his Ring of Honor contract. Or not released, it expired. But he's not renewed, so Bully Ray is a free agent. And I got to give Impact credit, too. In terms of this build-up, they've had a lot of curveballs thrown at them with, obviously the speaking out movement that's going on in professional wrestling. They've had a number of talent that's had to be taken off of television.
Nice.
Dave Chris is one of them. And a guy who is involved in their world title main event, which was supposed to be a 5-way main event, who within a matter of 2 weeks now, Michael Elgin is out. And Tessa Blanchard is out because her contract expired. And they were trying to get one more match out of her. However, she didn't send in any promos or really had anything to do with it. So,
I mean,
you
that's
lost
bad.
You lost your champion and one of your biggest contenders. The whole program was built around Michael Elgin, Tessa Blanchard, and Eddie Edwards. And now it's morphed into something completely different. So what I like that Impact's done is they've gone back into their archives and they've left you questioning, because they do that kind of Impact moment of the week from their history arc, their library, and they have teased a lot of clips of people who were released recently from WWE. Bully Ray was featured this week. There's been a lot of these names. We've seen James Storm being featured again. So it really makes you wonder. And there's rumors that you could get upwards of 4, 5, or 6 people show up at Slammiversary. So gut feeling, Maddie. Gallows and Anderson, I think, is a given. I think that they'll show up. So my gut would be, I think that the North drops the titles finally to Sami Callihan and Shamrock. Ken Shamrock, former A2D guest of just last month. Or maybe not. But I think what happens here is the North has, I'm going to revise that. I don't think Shamrock and Callihan win this. But the North has, the whole gimmick has been nobody can beat them. They've been champions. That's like the longest tag title reign in the history of Impact at this point. So they had to go in other countries to find competition. I think that's where Gallows and Anderson show up. And they're the guys to take out the North. But outside of them, there is a vacant spot in the world title match and with a mystery opponent. Who do you think shows up, Maddie?
I think in the world title match,
give me 3 names that you think would show up.
Well, I think Bully Ray. I think he would be. I think he'd be perfect for a main event spot because he has that history with Impact. Next on the list, not Eric Young, because I think they teased him as Super Eric, so he'll do something else. Trying to think. Damn it, I'm getting stumped right now.
For me, I think that we could see, I think EC3. I think a good opportunity for him to pop in. Maybe when Moose is defending the TNA championship. I think that's a good ideal opportunity to bring EC3 in. The world title is an interesting one to me. I think you could see James Storm. I think that you could. I mean, EC3 could be in that spot. Bully Ray would be ideal for that. Trying to think of. Yeah, I don't think Eric Young fits that spot. I think Eric Young will show up in Impact. I don't think that he will show up at Slammiversary. Rusev is a name that keeps sticking in my head. That I could see him making an appearance there. So, just a couple of guys.
You could. I'm thinking because if they want to try and salvage the three-way, you could have Bully Ray and James Storm.
It's going to be a four-way now.
Four-way now. Okay. So, and there's 2 vacancies because of Michael Elgin and Tessa not being there. So you can easily have James Storm and Bully Ray be in those spots because they're 2 legendary names with Impact, and they're both former Impact World Champions. And then on top of that, EC3 against Moose isn't a bad idea. You can also even put Rusev in there if they decide to have him show up. And like you said, it does make sense if Eric does show up as Super Eric on an Impact show, not necessarily Slammiversary, but if he does show up, he does something silly. He doesn't do anything match-wise. He just shows up right the hell out of nowhere.
Well, I think he's just going to show up as Eric Young. He might be the nut that he was when he left, that character, but it's very interesting. I do watch Impact weekly. I do like a fast forward through it, though. I don't watch every single thing. They got some good stuff going on over there, and this could be a blessing in disguise for them, having Tessa gone, who I think Tessa will end up in WWE, by the way. That'll be a conversation for another day. Having Tessa gone, having Michael Elgin out of the picture now, there's some opportunities that have opened up, and they really can reload here.
Yeah.
I think being smart and giving guys avenues like they are with Gallows and Anderson to go and work elsewhere, not just in Impact, will be enticing as well. But I will say, in terms of Impact, this is the first time in a while that I'm intrigued by it. I might actually purchase a pay-per-view. I'm that intrigued by it. I feel, especially because I have a responsibility to our viewers, this might be the only time that Impact has something this relevant going on that it would be worth investing in.
It's kind of funny. Very rarely does it ever fall in their favor. Very rarely does it. Usually, whoever gets the short end of the stick, it's either ROH or Impact. It's one of the two of those that usually gets completely screwed over by the wrestling world. But I would say, I don't know if I would buy it, but I may be tempted to watch it, just to see. I still have that fear, though, in the back of my mind. I'll watch it, and they'll hire back Vince Russo. But, it's just, I still have that fear. My paranoia will not die with TNA. It just won't.
It's worth a watch. Again, you don't have to watch every single match. There's stuff in there that it's no disrespect to the town. There's so much wrestling on in the week. I can't commit an hour and a half to get through all of it. No, Joey, she does not own Impact still.
No, she does not, thank God. But one other thing, too, before we leave, Gallows and Anderson being able to work with NJPW is exciting because now they can have an opportunity to work with the Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tungaloa. I think that would be a real exciting program for the heavyweight tag belts, because NJPW losing some talent did hurt them. Getting Gallows and Anderson back is a huge plus for them because they were big over there.
What's do they not have a TV deal in the US again now?
Yeah, it was weird. They were trying to set up their own promotion, but then that fell apart because of the whole pandemic. And that was going to carry, like Dragon Gate USA was a thing, but that didn't carry any TV. So they were trying to get TV. It was supposed to be this whole thing. It didn't turn out because of the pandemic and everything like that. And they paused everything because of the pandemic anyway. They're just starting to restart shows. So
I'm obviously a pretty terrible journalist that, I mean, I had it DVR'd every week, and it stopped DVRing, and I realized it did, but I never really didn't really bother me. I didn't look into it. And I just started thinking about that the other day when I was reading about Gallows Anderson. I was like, man, NJPW hasn't been on TV in a while. Do they still have a television deal? They were on Access, right?
They got replaced by Impact, which is rare to say that.
They were both weren't they both on that network at the same time? Maybe not.
No, I think what happened was NJPW didn't get their deal renewed, and so in comes Impact. And the thing is, too, I think when they lost JR, that pretty much sank the ship for NJPW being on there, because he was doing that commentary, and being AEW exclusive pretty much killed that deal. But from the way you pretty much soured on JR, it's like you didn't lose anything really in the end.
You know, I thought he was okay. It's weird because I thought he was okay in NJPW. It's just, you know, the guy doesn't take the time to get to know the talent anymore. And he's like the old guy who goes on a rant, and it has nothing to do with what's on the television. Like, it's time to wrap it up, JR. I'm sorry, buddy. You're a legend. But now it's getting to the point where, for me, I can't even go back and look at your old commentary the same way, because I have what you do now in my head, and it ruins it for me. Because you're still saying the same stupid shit, too.
It's like he's like that football coach that's stuck in the 80s and the 90s when, you know, the whole NFL has moved on from that and the Raiders hire him. But anyway.
It's like when you're a Phillies fan, right? For the Phillies fans out there, I remember this. And you watch games, and Sarge was in the booth. And, you know, they'd be talking about, you know, if you're a manager here, what would you do here in a double switch? And he'd say, oh, speaking of a double switch, remember a time I was on the road and I was supposed to go here, but then I switched it up and I went to the strip club with my buddies. It's like, what? And that's pretty much JR. He's the Sarge of wrestling commentary at this point.
Oh, man.
Anyway, no, this was fun. So, yeah, I'll probably check it out. But anyway, I have to say, Maddie, this is the least that we've talked about WWE in almost any show. And how crazy is it that we probably talked about both Impact and AEW separately more than we did in the time that we talked about WWE? That's crazy.
True. I even think the NJPW slice of it might just be a little bit bigger than the WWE one. That's how little we talked about it. Jeez.
Hey, man. It is what it is. But great show this week. Don't forget, it's Niche Night. Maddie's not done with you guys here on A2D Radio. He's going to check in with you guys 10 p.m. tonight with Brian Daly, with Rob Povia. They're going to be talking fantasy hockey draft. We've been doing a draft series here on A2D Radio. We did on my other show that I co-host, Birds of a Feather. We did football. We've seen other guys. I participated in an MLB one on Agree to Disagree on Sundays. They've also done an NBA one. So the hockey guys over here, the best hockey show in the business, they're going to take over, and they're going to bring to you guys an NHL fantasy draft. Each guy, they're going to go through. They're going to make their picks of who they want to have on their team, and then we want to hear from you guys and see who drafts the best hockey team of all it's current, right, Maddie? You're not doing an all-time.
It is current active NHL players, yes.
Okay, so anybody who's currently inactive in the NHL. So check those guys out, 10 o'clock. They do a great show over there. We love it. And, you're gonna get your hockey fix over there. And honestly, Matty, I think hockey might be the only sport that gets off at this point. Smart
Well,
move going to Canada, that's for sure.
yeah.
Um,
Luckily, they have that to fall back on.
yeah. But other great shows here on A2D. You know, tomorrow we have On the Road to Victory with Jimmy Smith as well. You know, we have the weekly roundup on Saturday. In This Very Ring is on Saturday as well with our buddy Andy. He's going to do his own preview show or recap of everything that we've talked about this week. Probably a little more thorough. They do a little bit of a longer show over there. It'll be him and Butters. I don't know if Matty's going to join them too. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I don't know.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. And obviously Sundays, we have Agree to Disagree, the flagship show with Tom Arnone, Wills, Sweeps, Slappy, and everybody else. Whoever else they decide to have on. Monday nights, we have the Sports Hounds. Oh, and I know we have Kicking It Stateside. I don't remember what day they're on because I feel like they jumped around. I think they're Saturdays as well. I could be wrong, but that's for all you soccer guys out there, soccer girls out there. But Monday, we have the Sports Hounds. I know they have with Chucks, with Kevin. We had a fiery episode this week, Matty. Fiery episode. Oh, we had a hour and 15-minute argument with Kevin about how he is a fraud over the Cam Newton signing because he was saying one thing 2 weeks ago. We even played the audio clip, and he still tried to deny it. It was crazy. And obviously Wednesday nights. What do we have one? Oh, we have AM and the PM and the Fix. Although they've been doing a combined show, it's been the Fix and the PM with our guy on the backboards today, who we appreciate him filling in for Ryan, Mr. Ralph Delavecchio. Shout out to Ralph. Shout out to Graham. Shout out to Mommy D, for hooking us up with some sausage, meatballs. And Ralphie, I have to tell you too, even when the meatballs and the sausage ran out, I used the sauce, the gravy, for pasta, and it was delicious. So shout out to them. They got me like 4 dinners out of that. But lots of great content here, guys, on A2D. We're dropping posts every day, videos every day, shows every day. This is the place for you. This is the place where you have a voice. So like, subscribe, rate A2D Radio on Facebook, YouTube. We're on Instagram, so follow us there. Follow us on Twitter. We're on Twitch. You can find all of our shows backlogged on all these different areas. And oh, by the way, if you couldn't catch us live or you missed any part of it, or you like to listen to it on your daily commute, if you're somebody still going to work, working in the office, or you're home and you're bored and you're looking for something different to listen to while you work from home, guess what? You can check us out on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or iTunes, whatever you call it, Google Play, Spreaker, Spotify, SoundCloud. We're available on all of those major platforms, so make sure you guys follow us on there. Download the versions that you like. Again, lots of interviews here. We talked, we put ourselves out there, but all the great interviews we've had on this show. The Hockey Happy Hour had Chris Pronger. We had Riley Cote and Todd Harriman on a show. We had, can't even think right now. We've had tons of people on shows.
We've had former Phillies pitchers, former NFL players,
MMA guys.
MMA guys.
Vince Papali was on. It's been nuts. Adam Carricker was on a show. Adam Carricker, if you know him, he's a great analyst, former NFL player, former Nebraska Cornhusker. I mean, there's stuff for everybody. So make sure you guys get on, check it out, follow us. We'll be back next week with our Extreme Rules preview and any other newsworthy topics that may come up over the week. So again, I want to thank all of you guys who joined us, who dropped your comments in. We appreciate you. We love you here at A2D Radio. We love Ralphie. We love our sponsors, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy. You can find him at specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Ambuck Services. Let Michael Ambrose know that we sent you for anything you need on your outside work, gutter cleaning, gutter guards, tree trimming, deck installation, restoration, anything else you need, let him know. Get 20% off. It's Ambuck Services, AMBUCK services.com. Play QB54, greatest tailgating game. I'm telling you guys, use the promo code A2D, get 10% off, have fun with your friends. That's at playqb54.com. Philly drinkers, our boys with this wonderful A2D merch that we have the pleasure of wearing every week. Maddie's got his. Show it proud, brother.
Not
Show
not
it
just
proud.
the New World Order one, but also the hockey one as well.
There it is. I love it. Yeah, we got lots of great designs. So make sure you guys check it out. Check out Philly Drinkers. Alex, shout out to him. Great stuff over there. So for us, guys, we're signing off for the week. Have a safe one. Stay safe. Be smart. Maddie, thank you for your time. Ralph, thank you for your time. For myself, you guys have a wonderful rest of your week.